your T-bills, your T-notes. That's going to be a problem.
Can you see that money come to our country?
Yeah.
Citibank bringing the money over here where it's more stable and they can get their money.
Not only Citibank, but maybe the Chinese government. What about England? What about the European Union? Sure, they're going to look at countries versus the United States.
So actually,
you could benefit. You could. Yeah. Unless the economic crisis. I always say this: in the United States, when we have a cold, sometimes in Central America you have pneumonia. And I just hope it doesn't funnel down this way. If it doesn't, yes, you can benefit. I think you can benefit. Because the money's going to go somewhere. And I don't think right now it'll come to the United States. But the Chinese government's already said we will not continue investing. They've already said that. So what will we do in the United States to continue selling T-bills? Who's going to buy them? Guatemala's not going to buy them. I talked to the superintendent of banking there a long time. He said, we're not interested anymore until we see a stabilization. That's just exactly a good question. When they, the Chinese government, European Union say we don't want to buy because they're in trouble, how do we find? That's a good question. What do we do?
Well, I mean, the thing here is there's the Federal Reserve and there's the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department emits the T-bills, and the Federal Reserve just turns the machine on.
Mm-hmm.
And Bernanke said we will put as much money as needed into the system, regardless of the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
To protect the banks. So they will literally just turn on the machine.
That's why I said. Yep. The dollar value will plummet to that. That's why I said you need to be in the ink business.
Well, but I mean, this
yeah.
is the problem. I mean,
absolutely, it's going to be astronomical.
So why hasn't that happened yet? The opposite has actually happened.
It has. We've had more. We're in deflation. We're actually in deflation.
People are buying more T-bills than ever.
I don't know. It's kind of if you look at economics, that's why economics is never a precise science. It kind of goes against what economically should happen. For years before this really hit, the market, as you notice, the market was doing great for a long time. Interest rates were also pretty good. Usually there's an inverse relationship. It didn't happen. That was unusual too. So it's been kind of an unusual 5 or 6 years economically. So what you would look at in an economics course, it hasn't happened.
That's part of the answer.
Yeah.
No one's putting money into stocks anymore, so that's so they're buying T-bills.
They're buying T-bills.
So somebody lost control of the.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, really, for the last 3 months, anybody who had a little bit of cash left that had to diversify had no other safe investment.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, there came a time, like 3 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago, where the returns of T-bills were negative. Mm-hmm. We were paying the government to take your money because it was safer than not knowing what else to do.
Well, we were looking at well, I'll tell you, at the hospital, we're kind of into this same issue. We have about $8 million in reserves, and we're looking at what do we do with our money. You know where our money's been at? CDs. And I said, but guys, they're not insured but $250,000 now. We've got to do something. So we looked at T-bills, and as you said, there's no way. There was no way. So what we did is we got banks to actually pledge some government securities. Now, how good are they going to be? I don't know. But to pledge enough securities to cover our money in case something happened. But we couldn't buy T-bills. Our university, our endowment's is quite large, and we're struggling where we can put our money. You can't find anything right now. Well, I mean, they're going to have to look at doing something. Really, I'm seriously. For our little university, we're very small. We have about a $100 million endowment. And again, that's basically from the Walton's help. And we're just struggling. Where do we put it at? We use, at our school, we had 3 sources of income: tuition, endowment, and what we can raise from donations. And man, our endowment has taken a plunge the earnings. So we're trying to do something to keep from having to raise tuition. And it's tough right now. We can't find places to go with the money. It is scary. It is scary.
Subsidize the agriculture anymore and allow our products actually go back to the prices, normal prices?
Do I see them changing the free trade agreement?
I mean, we know that our basic grain doesn't get the prices.
Right, because of our farm subsidies. I got you. Right? Will we continue?
Do you see the U.S. government stopping that from side?
Well, I tell you what, I have a lot of family that farm, but I've always said, there's nobody subsidizing our hospital business. There's nobody that subsidizes Walmart's operations. at what point do we say, farmers, you have to make it like all the rest of us do? And my family would kill me if I heard me say that, because they love to say, but I think it's probably time to look at that. So you live and die in a capitalistic society by making right decisions. Farming should be no different. They pay farmers lots of money just to leave their land out and not plant it. That may be something that will stop. It would help you. You can, for example, you can compete against our soybean prices. You can compete against our corn prices. Absolutely. And that may be something they'll look at. I think that would be reasonable to look at. Absolutely.
That's a total change of this system.
Well, it would be. But of course, Obama is completely different than what we've seen in the past. I mean, he's looking, I think everything's on the plate with him. Everything's on the plate. What's going to happen in the United States with health care? That's going to be a multi-trillion-dollar deal trying to solve some of our health care issues. Looking at our Social Security system, which is in trouble. Looking at Medicare, which is in trouble. Again, I'm on the hospital board. They made one change in Medicare 2 years ago, cost our hospital $500,000. I mean, how are we going to solve some of those issues? How are we going to take care of our baby boomers as they start retiring? Our population is aging. Health care issues are going to be a major thing. So something's going to have to be cut, and it could be farm subsidies. That could be.
What will happen with the people that got in trouble? Okay, that was, people that bought the houses that couldn't pay the credit cards that got fired. I mean, they have, because it's such a major thing that there has to be like a blanket eraser or something. I mean, something.
Well, they've increased unemployment benefits, but still, you're talking maybe $200 to $400 a week unemployment benefits. I mean, and what's going to happen? How long will these people be unemployed? It's going to be a long time before we come back. Well, I don't think you'll be able to. I mean, for 7 years, it'll still stay on your record. And they'll be declaring bankruptcy. A lot of them will, and it'll be on there for 7 years. You won't be able to clean it up for 7 years. I mean, it's going to be there for a minute. And when I was a banker, I don't care if you declared bankruptcy 15 years ago. If you walked into the bank and you said to me the word bankruptcy, I didn't make you alone. I had a friend of mine who had declared bankruptcy once. He was a police officer. And he had shot a guy. It was a legal shooting. They were going to sue him. He declared bankruptcy but never did go through with it. He stopped the proceedings. Because he had declared, I could not make him alone. And that had been like 10 years before. So when you hear the word bankruptcy, I mean, at least me as a banker, I just said, can't do it. I can't do it. But realistically, 7 years minimum on your record. 7 year minimum. So for 7 years, they're ruined.
For example, if the person negotiated with the credit card, let's say they negotiated to pay half of the thing, and he made good for the thing, what would happen?
Well, if they could negotiate down and say we'll pay half of it and they accept that, then it would not go on your record if they accept that. Now, you have to make sure they accept it, and that would be okay. Or if your banker would let you stretch out your payments, it's fine. But if you declare bankruptcy, then it's there, and you can't get out of that. And that's going to be a major problem. But again, what else can you do if you've lost everything? A credit card company may say, well, I'll write off half your $80,000 credit card bill. I can't pay $45,000. I don't have a job. Then it's going to go on the record. It's going to go on the record. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Let's look a little bit at kind of what's next in the banking business. What we think is going to happen next. I think there's no doubt we'll go back to more regulations. We're going to continue to see bank mergers. This is going to happen. I think mortgage loan officers will not continue to receive commissions. That's going to have to change. And I hope the FDIC will step up to the plate and change that. They've got to go back to what we used to do, and that means close evaluation in the loan process. I always looked at credit, capacity to pay. I looked at capital. I looked at the market conditions, and the fifth C of credit was called character. We're going to have to go back to looking at some of those. We're going to have to do a very thorough process. You're going to have documentation. I want to see your tax returns. I want to see the average account balances. I want to see a financial statement. I want to have a realistic appraisal and probably 2 of your property. We've got to go back to that. Subprime loans will be out. There'll be more verification of the application process. You're going to call and follow up on references. And again, the property appraisals have to be accurate. You cannot inflate property values. And you've got to put 20 or 30% into the deal. It can't be 100% financing. You've got to have something that you can lose. It won't work unless you do. You work hard when you can lose your money, but when it's somebody else's money you're losing, you may not care. You've got to have 20 to 30%. That's what I always ask for as a banker. That's got